Welcome to Finish the Race, a conservative Christian podcast where we'll dive deep into the current events and social issues affecting Americans.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
In times like these, truth, principles, and solutions matter. Through God's Word, we can restore our true American values, faith, family, and country.
However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace.
Now, here's your host, Eric-Thompson.
Hi, welcome to Finish the Race. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Thursday, May 19th, 2022. Please check out our articles over on finishtherace.com if you want to keep up to speed on what's going on locally, nationally, and around the world. On this podcast, we're going to cover what's trending right now and the main stories that are taking place on Thursday afternoon. Will frustrate you to no ends if you are someone that believes in America first, believes that Americans should be taken care of first, and not the rest of the world while we're struggling. So here's what's going on. The United States Senate, which is basically 50-50, voted 86-11 to approve another $40 billion to be sent to Ukraine in economic and military aid, while Americans are suffering from food shortages and inflation. $40 billion. How many gas tanks of gas would that fill up? How much tax relief could you give with payroll tax? Nope, the Senate is going to send with the House, and Biden will sign it, $40 billion. So my question is, why? Why is the United States of America sending, listen to this, 3 times what all of Europe has sent? So Europe is right there, and we're sending 3 times, and it's not in our interest. It's neglecting our priorities at home, the border. It's allowing Europe to freeload, and it shortchanges critical interest abroad and comes with no meaningful oversight. That was from Josh Hawley. What does Joe Biden owe Ukraine? What do other people in our government owe Ukraine? Or the oligarchs in Russia, mixed in Ukraine, and other places? You remember when Joe was the vice president, which he bragged about after he left office, that he was given the authority to go over and to negotiate with Ukraine and China. And there was a prosecutor that was after Hunter for his crooked dealings with Burisma, the energy company. And it was getting pretty heated. So Joe said, look, hey, Ukraine, hey, Mr. President over there, you better get rid of your prosecutor that's after Hunter, or you're not going to get the $1 billion we promised you as the United States of America. I, as the vice president, on a personal note, want to stop you from going after my son because he's crooked. If you don't, you're not going to get the money that the United States agreed. And he's like, you can't do that. And Joe joked. He said, try me. One call to Brock and you're not getting the money. He said within a few hours, the prosecutor was fired for no other reason than Joe Biden said so. The United States is declining in every area, and the financial market, like real estate, is going up because there's investment groups like BlackRock Financial and their subsidiaries that are buying up real estate in the billions and billions of dollars, residential properties, because in the Great Reset by 2030, Americans won't own anything and we'll be happy about it. We'll all be renters if they had it their way. There'll be no gas-powered cars. Everything will be electric by 2030. So the fact is, there's a few countries that are in, this is my opinion here. There's a few countries in the way from the Great Reset getting pushed through. Russia, Putin, China, India, and the conservatives in the United States of America. That's it. Nobody else is fighting it. The WHO this next week is going to try to get countries to give up their sovereignty to them. And for the next pandemic, they could override all the national sovereignties around the world to fight the next pandemic. Yes, they would actually they would override our Constitution if it was put in. Why? Why is our government doing this? It was 86-11 that the Senate, that means a lot of Republicans voted to give Ukraine another $40 billion. 3 times more than Europe, so Europe gets the coast. They don't have to worry about it because the money's coming in from the United States. It doesn't have a say in it. The shortages, I think 40-50% of the stores in San Antonio don't have formula. Inflation's through the roof. I'm out here in California, $6 a gallon for gas. Went to buy some groceries. The block of cheese is up $3 compared to what it used to be. 30% increase in a year. I didn't get a 30% raise this year. I didn't get a 80% raise to pay for that gasoline that went from $3.20 a gallon to $6. And we're sending $40 billion to Ukraine. There's a lot more to the story. You can get into a lot of hyperbole and you can get into the tinfoil. So I don't know. I'm just telling you there's something wrong with this picture. And I think it has to do with the Great Reset. I think it has to do with Joe Biden being compromised. And I think it has to do with just this hatred of countries that won't buy into the globalism movement that's taking place. Title 42 ends on May 23rd. I think that's Monday. Title 42 was put in place right when the COVID pandemic started. The Centers for Disease Control, through the Trump administration, said there's a new regulation in place that nobody can enter the United States seeking asylum during COVID because of the possibility of them bringing in the virus. So it turned away hundreds of thousands of people trying to get in the country. Now, even while that was going on, 2 million people last year got across. So I'm not going to say that made a huge difference, but hundreds of thousands of people didn't make it in. Well, under Alejandro Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, who's opened up the borders because he says he wants asylum, pathway to citizenship for everybody. Title 42 now, the CDC says, well, with COVID dropping, we don't need that in place anymore. So on May 23rd, they announced they're going to let it lapse. The White House could say, no, we're going to keep it in place. But the White House said a month ago or 2 months ago now, we're going to let it expire. What's happened is the hundreds of thousands of people that were turned away that didn't go back because they probably were told that this will be their opportunity to get in. They're already streaming across the Rio Grande, hand in hand, because there's already people that have been told in the Border Patrol that it's already just let it go. We're not enforcing anything anymore. So they're coming in. But there's over 100,000 people, illegal aliens and migrants from over 150 different countries staged on it right across the border. And May 23rd, they know they get to walk up and say, I'm afraid to go home because I'm fearful for my life, and they will get processed for asylum. If you look at it, we're probably 3.5 million people, because they're saying about a 30 to 40% non-capture or a getaway rate. So if we had 2.1 million that we actually caught and processed, and 30 to 40% more didn't get caught, we're in the 3 million plus from over 150 different countries. And Governor Abbott, they had the data. It's about a year ago, and he said just in Texas alone, the last group that came across, over 150 different nations. So Title 42, there's a judge who might stop it, but it's probably going to it's going to lapse, and on Monday going forward, there'll be so many more. There's supposedly we're short on formula, even though there's videos and photos from from a House member where she's showing they have pallets and pallets and pallets of formula. No problem down there for the illegal aliens. Just like we're sending $40 billion to help Ukrainians, and the oligarchs and Zelensky and all them get richer and richer and richer. We're also helping illegal aliens get formula, get food, get housing, get driven, flown. But the Hispanics that are in the United States are like, you can't keep bringing in people in these numbers. There's a new poll that's out. Quinnipiac did a poll. This isn't a conservative poll, and they're saying in their poll that the approval rating for Joe Biden among Hispanic Americans dropped to 26%. Last year, the poll, he was at 55%. Nobody except a far-left globalist would support Joe Biden right now. Disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, which gave the Taliban control of the country. So all of those years of fighting and spilling our blood and sweat and tears over there. We've got this LGBT, transgender, men can have abortions, insanity taking place because everything that's been traditional now is being shunned by the top. Not the average person, but from the Department of Defense, from the FBI, the CIA, the White House. But yeah, the support from the Hispanics is down to 26% because they don't want their cities, towns, rural areas flooded with millions of more people to take their jobs, and some of them bringing crime, drugs, and everything with them. Disney decided that they're going to launch an LGBT clothing line for children and older. Why would Disney get into LGBT clothing? Because they're still mad at Florida. They're still mad at Governor DeSantis for saying that the children cannot be groomed from kindergarten to third grade. So Disney's like, fine, we're going to, when you come to the theme park now, we're going to take our normal clothing that we sell and we're going to make them LGBT. And then we're going to donate the profits to adults that claim to be LGBT and children. From a Christian worldview, everything that the left is doing is anti-child. From aborting them in the womb, which, if you don't know, the argument that has been made by the abortion crowd for decades was that we don't know if it's a lump of cells in there. We don't know. Now they're actually saying, yeah, it's a baby. But it's up to the mom if she wants her body to be used by the baby to live. If not, then the baby goes. Children are getting groomed in preschools, kindergarten classes, and elementary up through college universities by the critical race theory, 1619 Project, this social justice, economic justice, environmental justice, LGBT, all of this is hitting the youth. There was a video on TikTok. There was a boy that the mom was sitting there, and she put him in a dress, and he's like, he came in wearing boys' clothes, and she had him in a dress, and he goes, well, I don't like wearing the dress. She goes, well, why? You liked it at home? He goes, because the kids make fun of me, and I'm a boy. But she goes, well, you chose the dress. No, and this happens a lot. So you have the kids then that are groomed, and then they're growing up, and then they're told to make up their own gender, told that they don't have an identity, told that there's no God, said that anyone that calls them by he or she, if they want to be called a different pronoun, is hateful. There's schools in Virginia, a school in Virginia, Wisconsin, that they're bringing Title IX or racism charges against eighth graders because a girl said she wanted to be called they something instead of she, and they didn't really understand that, so they said she, so she freaked out. So they were trying to bring charges against the kids. This insanity has to be just smacked down by the norm. And we got to quit trying to be gentle with this insanity. It's like if you remember what, was that the one that flies over a cuckoo's nest, or people in mental institutions sometimes have to be suppressed. They have to be locked down because their mental faculties go haywire and they become violent. We have children that are getting, girls getting their breasts removed at 11, 12 years old. They're getting hormone therapy. They're getting totally screwed up for life. And we're just marching on. So $40 billion to Ukraine, Great Reset, Biden's corrupt, the whole thing. Why? And then the elite, and then even the Hispanics see how screwed up things are, and Biden's plummeting, and now Disney wants to go and give money to organizations that will further screw up the children. Over in New York, welcome to 1984. We thought de Blasio was we thought that Cuomo was pretty bad. Well, Governor Cuomo's replacement, Kathy Hochul, she's just as wicked. She said on yesterday, she's planning to create a police unit designed to, in part, combat hate speech. In the wake of the tragic shooting in Buffalo, promising to, quote, confront this epidemic head on, we're proposing a comprehensive plan to combat domestic terrorism, strengthen state gun laws, and investigate social media platforms promoting violent extremism, unquote. As someone who's really enjoying being on Trump's Truth Social, I guarantee you in their legislation, they're going to be harassing Truth Social. She continued, in wake of the racist act of terror in Buffalo, New York will lead the change to confront this epidemic. She tweeted, there are two intersecting crises facing our nation right now, military-style weapons and domestic terrorism. Now they didn't have a problem with Black Lives Matter. They didn't have a problem with Antifa. They don't have a problem with 90% of the shootings with handguns in the United States are black on black. But she's going to address this domestic terrorism. Can't go on any farther. So she's issuing an executive order to devote substantial resources and focus toward combating the troubling surge in domestic terrorism by identifying radicalized individuals and tracking their threats, and amplified on social media, and further empower. She's empowering the state police. Does it sound like the SS to you? To keep guns away from who she deems to be dangerous people. All these things can be fixed by deconstructing the government back down to local control. And then people start to tell people that want to change the culture that we live in, sorry that you think that you are a different gender. You're 0.01%. Unless you're part of the youth that got indoctrinated for 5 years, where you're now 25 to 30%, where you're brainwashed. Now, while this is going on, we know it's 8.3% on inflation for the year. Everything's high, but guess what's going up? Real estate pricing. How's that happening? Breitbart has an article here from John Carney. The rate of sales of previously owned homes fell in April, a third straight month of declining sales, while prices climbed to a new record. Existing sales fell 2.4%. So less homes are being bought, but they're being paid more for. 14.8% increase in The average home in the United States has skyrocketed to $391,200 average. Almost 15% increase. And why is this? My opinion, BlackRock Financial is one of the main partners of the Great Reset, and they have, I think, $14 to $16 trillion that they manage. There are subsidiaries or subgroups of real estate purchasing and rental companies that BlackRock is financing, and they're buying up billions and billions of dollars of real estate, residential properties, and they're overpaying for them, so they can close cash deals, turn and burn, and then they flip them into expensive rentals. That's why homes are still going up in price, because BlackRock doesn't care about the price. They care about absorbing the available residential homes in the pursuit of making everyone renters. Then they're making bank because they would be the only player in town. In the research here, there's no other reason I can find why people would overpay when inflation's going up and their incomes aren't keeping up, so their spending power is down, but yet pricings are still going up because these investment groups are buying them up. And lastly, in line with the last story, Elon Musk, Tesla, his company, he's saying that the S&P 500 ESG index, he's blaming phony social justice warriors for the reason that Tesla got booted from the S&P 500 ESG index. The ESG index, it tracks sustainable and consciously or socially conscious companies. Tesla was removed, even though they have no emissions on their cars. They booted him. And he was furious. The ESG score is from the Great Reset. Environmental, social justice, and governance. And what happens is that the financial institutions like BlackRock will tell a Tesla or any company that is using financing to operate, you don't have a good environmental score. You're not investing in the Green New Deal. You haven't made your plants green enough. Your social justice, you're not really participating in advancing LGBT critical race theory. You're not bringing on more people. You don't have enough equity, which goes over to governance, where how many people are on your board, what's their diversity, etc. So they're blaming. The S&P says they're citing accusations of racial discrimination and poor working conditions as the reason. Elon Musk tweeted, though, Exxon is rated top 10 in the world for environment, social, and governance, ESG, by the S&P 500, while Tesla didn't make the list. ESG is a scam that has been weaponized by phony social justice warriors. And yes, it has. Keep an eye on the ESG. You want to tell your legislators you do not want your state to allow the banks and the financial institutions in your state to determine if you or if residents of your state can get a loan for a house, a car, can get credit cards, can get jobs based off of your Twitter post, based off of your comments, public comments, or conversations that they find out about when it comes to social issues. This is like the social credit score in China. Environmental, social justice, and governance. So today, the main stories is it's America last. It's social justice, LBT advanced. And the Great Reset is active in multiple parts of our economy. So I'll be writing articles on these. You can get them over at finishtherace.com. You can also download the other podcast here that I'll be doing on Finish the Race. One of our sponsors here about a year and a half ago, this is a way you can actually cut your budget right now with all of the bad news I just gave you. If you're with T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint, or Verizon, you just listen up real quick. About a year and a half ago, I was with T-Mobile, and my cell phone bill was crazy, and every time we went over on our data, my bill would jump up $80 for the month, and I got tired of it, and I heard about a company called Pure Talk USA. They're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and this is what happens. Hundreds of thousands of people are leaving. You can go to getpuretalk.com, getpuretalk.com. You'll see 50% off the first month. And what happens is you choose the package that's right for you. You put in our promo code of FLS, 3 letters, FLS, for liberty's sake, and it'll get you 50% off your first month on a bill that's going to be about 50% of what you've been paying. They're going to mail your little SIM cards. You're going to swap them out in your current phones because you get to keep your phones, keep your phone numbers. And when you put in the SIM cards and turn your phones on, guess what? You're going to have the same number of bars because you're going to be on the same 5G network. You're going to be on the same towers. Everything's the same except you're going to pay Pure Talk every month instead of paying Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or T-Mobile. They have better customer service, in my opinion, out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. The CEO is a U.S. veteran, and they do not contribute to causes that you and I would disagree with as conservatives and Christians. And they don't charge you if you go over on your data. It's a win-win-win. No reason why not to save around $900 a year for the average family and support Finish the Race. So go to getpuretalk.com. Put in the promo code FLS at checkout. Get your SIM cards, pop them in. Save about $900 a year per family without any risk of getting charged for going over on your data. It's about $9,000 to $10,000 over 10 years, which can really help you out right now with these crazy inflation numbers. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Finish the Race. Again, the website, finishtherace.com, and make sure you get your cell phone bill down. Go to getpuretalk.com, promo code FLS. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to Finish the Race. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
My friends and I love it.
It's drastically changed my life.
For more information and updates, please visit finishtherace.com. To get in touch with others in our community, please visit megabook.com. We thank you once again for tuning in. Have a blessed day.